Hi, everybody. This is Kathy, and I am back, and we're going to talk about the bishop today. A lot of questions about the bishop, but I did find out who the bishop was and the Amish market where they were at. And I want to say thank you for one of the people in the comment section who told me who the bishop is and where the Amish store is that they were at. Now, I didn't just, take her word for it. Or his, I can't remember if it was a guy or a girl, but whoever it was, thank you. But I did check into it, and so I looked up the store. Now I really couldn't find any pictures that Eric or anybody posted about the Amish store where they were at. We heard a lot about it, but we didn't. We never heard the store, and you know what else we never heard? We never heard the name of the bishop. Why? We heard Robert Mass' name. We've heard Douche's name. We've heard Wayne's name. We've heard everybody's name, but we haven't heard the bishop name. And the bishop is the one who's going to take all that money. Now, I've had a lot of comments, great comments, awesome comments. You guys are awesome. But there's some comments who are people who are asking questions that I'm gonna cover here. But once I found out, once a question was answered, who is the bishop and where is this Amish community, that opened up a whole more, another book full of questions that I have. It actually, it answered two questions, but it opened up a whole bunch more. And oh boy, I'm not going to say the bishop's full name, but I will go over a few things. Now, I think this is where they were at. Now, it doesn't line up with their story, but it says the Amish of Pearisburg, Virginia. Now, I thought they said a different state, but anyway, like I said, it's a whole bunch more questions. It just doesn't make sense. Now, my question is, did that Amish bishop really make this deal with them or not? That's, I think, the $1 million question, because there is this store here. Now, like I said, I don't personally remember them saying what the name of the store they were at. It was just a random, Amish store in another state. And they really didn't ever said how they picked this particular store, because this is a store where they supposedly bought all that cheese. And, sometimes I wonder, am I hung up on that cheese? Yes, I am hung up on the cheese, because that makes no sense. And that was a big red flag that stuck out, because devil's in the details. And if you're from out of town, anybody who's traveled knows when you're on a plane and you fly somewhere, you want to buy all kinds of souvenirs or whatever stuff, but you can't, because you got to fly back. And so that cheese bothered me, because he put his arms out like it was, 2 or 3 feet wide. So, I mean, a giant block of cheese. So, yeah, I'm a little hung up on that cheese, because none of it made sense. I know even before he brought up the cheese, none of it made sense. First of all, you know how they went through all this, and then the Amish, they met the bishop and all that stuff. And then when they got back, the more I think about this, the more it's kind of getting obvious what happened. I personally think that I don't think that the Amish really agreed to do this. I might be wrong, but oddly enough, after they met with the Amish bishop, they went back. They said everything was great. They went straight to the courthouse. They checked on. He told him the bishop told him to get a slab and get permits. So they went, and that was the day that actually was the 4th. That was the court date. So they go back on the 5th, this is when everything blows up. Everything was fine. I've got clips of this too, by the way. Everything was fine. Remember the big hug, hugging Timmy because now the deal is set. And then immediately after that was the big blow up where he saw BJ home, knowing she would be home, knowing he missed the restraining order. And of course, she's going to be home. Just what he was hoping for. Because when he saw BJ, the deal was off. Now, think of this. I remember him saying, because he said, no, he's claiming he called the whole, everything was ready to go. But he called it all off. Eric called it off when he saw the blinds come down in the camper, found out BJ was there, even though he missed restraining order. And I think it was on purpose because he thinks that's a deal breaker. But you know what? My question, I got another question. I remember him saying that he videotaped Betty and Larry signing the contract for the YouTube money, right? I don't ever remember him saying that they signed a contract for the house yet. He's saying that she broke the contract for the house, but there was no contract for the house. He kept saying, we're going to put it in the contract. We're going to put where BJ's in the contract. She can't be there. We're going to. But you know what? I don't think there was a contract written. And if there's no contract written yet, then there's no contract broken. How can they break a contract that hasn't been signed yet? And I mean, there's just more questions with this Amish, this bishop and everything else. So, first of all, the first thing that there shouldn't have even been a trip to the Amish. This was, I can't even imagine how many thousands of dollars were spent. With anybody who's traveled, traveling is expensive. Plane trips are expensive. Road trips are expensive. Hotels are expensive. Airbnbs are expensive. Eating out is expensive. It's very expensive. And if you have, let's see, Eric, John, let's see who else you got. You also got Douche. So you got 3 of them flying all over the place and all this to go do this. And they haven't even checked the property records yet. Before they did anything, they shouldn't even open up their yap about no house, nothing, until they first check the property records. Because if you check the property, personally, I would, before I go and build a house on somebody, I want to know, first of all, is the property in their name? Second of all, if it is in their name, are they behind on taxes? Because is there a lien on the property? That's another thing. Somebody could have a lien on your property. I'm not going to build a house on somebody's land if they have a lien on it by somebody else. So there's all kinds of reasons he should have just first, before he said anything, just gone down to the courthouse and find out if you're going to build, if you want to offer these people, let's make sure that land is free and clear and make sure that, nothing, before we even invest any time, and especially other people's money, let's see if this is even going to be doable to put your, but they didn't. They went through all these trips, and I mean, he was gone for a month. Eric was all over the place. And remember, he even brought his brother. The first time he brought his brother, so his brother got a free trip. Eric got a free trip. Eric's been for a month, at least a month he was out with all expenses paid. And the whole time, yelling at everybody, it's out of my pocket, everybody. My pocket. And none of it was. And he keeps saying that his friends are all paying out of their own pocket. I got clips of that. Really, I have got a question. Was John Mast, was he reimbursed for anything for this trip? I'd like to know. And the funny thing is, John Mast, they said he wrote the first check. To who? Who'd you write the first $500 check to, John? John closed the deal with the bishop that he knew for 35 years. But no, let's talk about that. Because there's all kinds of questions. Yeah, they can do a GoFundMe. No, they can't. They have a bank. They don't have a bank. Well, I remember Eric saying these are old school Amish. That's what he said, exact words. So somebody, let's go through the first question. Somebody said, look at the wording. Eric Eric didn't say that John, and I made a mistake. I accidentally kept saying Eric knew the guy 35 years. I know Eric's best friend is the one who knew him 35 years. But somebody said, well, look at the wording. He said, I knew him from 35 years ago, and I have pondered that. Now, the whole story of having to go on this long trip, I want you to find me one other person who hired an Amish builder who had to go through anything besides a phone call to get one. Name one person, come forward, if you have had to hire an Amish builder by going into a Amish shop, buying a gigantic block of cheese, speaking German, and all this other nonsense, and then ask them to take you to your leader. Then somehow the bishop is riding in your car to go visit more Amish people. That none of this makes sense. And then you're at the bishop's house. That's weird. Like, so if you wanted your house built, you're gonna pick up the bishop and you're gonna go back to the bishop's house and hang out there. And I saw the pictures of the bishop house exactly as they described it. But there's a lot of people who want to defend Eric, and they say, no, Eric. They said, douche here in the middle. He said he knew him from 35 years ago, and like I said, I have thought about this. Let's hear what he says here. We're fortunate enough because
he knew the bishop from 35 years ago.
Right.
Okay, from 35 years ago. Now that could mean two different things. He's known him for 35 years, or maybe he knew him 35 years ago. So maybe back in 1990 he knew the guy. And he hasn't seen him for a while, okay? So let's look at that angle, okay? Because I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and we're going to see if, because up till now, it's just all been nonsense, all right? You don't have to go through this, but let's play devil's advocate, and let's just say this is what he meant. He meant that John Mast knew the bishop back in 1990, okay? Okay, let's go with that. So if John Mast, who's sitting to the right here, who's the guy to be the guy that, the go-between between the Amish, which makes no sense, by the way. Anybody can ask the Amish builder to build them a house. You don't need a go-between. You don't need an interpreter. You don't need somebody speaking German buying cheese. You can just ask them yourself. And I have so many more questions now that I know who the bishop is. So this bishop from 35 years ago. So let's see if that makes sense. Okay, so they go on this trip because so far, remember, they had to go to the cheese shop and ask for the bishop's name, okay, first. So their claim is, Eric's claim and all his buddies claim that you just can't pick up the phone and talk to the Amish, which, yes, you can. They want you to pick up the phone and call them. They'll talk to their bishop or whatever. But this little story here, he's going to tell you about this cheese story or whatever. Like I said, this is somebody from out of town. And if you've been out of town, you know you got to get back onto that plane. So you can't really buy souvenirs and stuff. So you're going to buy a 40-pound block of cheese. And what, buy another a suitcase to put it in? You know what I mean? None of that makes sense. And his wife's at home. John's elderly wife is at home with a freshly broken hip and femur, who is obviously bedridden now. Why does she want a block of cheese? You know what I mean? None of that made sense. So anyway, let's listen to the story that you had to go through just to get the name. So obviously, when they got to the store, okay, because now if you believe that he used to know the bishop from 35 years ago. Actually, first of all, let me make a point. Okay, so they drove from Odd, West Virginia, down to the Amish store, Walker Valley Market, down in Pearisburg, Virginia. So they crossed state lines. Now, interesting thing is, I swear they said it was a few hours. Does anybody in the comment section remember? I'm not going to go through all the videos and find out. But I swear they said, I could be wrong, but I thought they said it was 2 or 3 hours or 2 or 300 miles or whatever. But this store that they apparently went to, and I'm 99% sure, and I'm going to tell you why, but the store that they went to, this Amish store and this Amish builder is right here over in Virginia, and it's only 100 miles away. Actually, it's only 50 miles away. So it's less than an hour to get there. Now, why would it take them hours to get there? Because I'm pretty sure, I remember they said it took hours. But they did want to stay there, and they stayed there 3 days. Now, they're up in odd West Virginia. They could have went down there, met with the Amish people, and went back up. They could have made a phone call to get real from their house back east, back west. But all 3 of them drove down here, stayed 3 nights in an Airbnb just to talk to the bishop. So obviously, at this point, right, we got to assume that, I think it's safe to assume that they don't know who the bishop is yet, because they have to find out the bishop's name, okay? So they drove an hour, booked more Airbnbs for 3 more days to try to meet the bishop. So obviously at this point, they don't know who the bishop is, right? Okay, so here's just a little clip of how they bought the cheese. John bought the cheese. He spoke the German, and they got the bishop's name doing this. This is how they got the bishop's name, right? Now, what are the odds that they drive across into Virginia, go to this Amish store? My question is, how did you pick this particular Amish community? How did you pick this Amish store to go to? In another state, mind you. That's why I find it hard to believe that this builder, this Amish builder over here, and the bishop would even agree to build a home in another state. You know what I mean? But if you believe them, they went into this cheese place. Into the Amish store, the one that I showed you, and this is how they got the bishop's name. Ridiculous.
Like that, guys.
Magic.
So we got to the store, and he started talking to the lady, and he bought a whole block of cheese. And I could tell there was a strategy and everything going in there.
So you have to have a strategy.
He just sat back and observed.
Can't just ask them.
And then he started speaking Pennsylvania Dutch. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that. The Amish started language. Europe.
None of this is necessary.
So it's actually German.
Tell me somebody who had to do this to get to talk to the builder.
Started doing that.
Ridiculous.
And, asked for the bishop's name.
There you go. Asked for the bishop's name. So as of this point, when they're in buying cheese, speaking German and all that, they don't know the bishop's name, right? They don't know the bishop's name yet. Look at him. He just sucking on that babe so hard and never exhales. Bill Clinton didn't inhale. Well, this guy never exhales. Now, what I find interesting is, to this day, we've never heard Eric ever say the bishop's name. We didn't get a video of him. We didn't get a photo shoot of him. We didn't, nothing. Now correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I missed something. I can miss stuff. But if I have personally never seen a picture of anything on the trip, anything about the Amish, anything about the bishop, nothing. Somebody had a question. Another good question is, why weren't none of the Whitakers invited along? How come Betty wasn't invited along? None of the Whitakers were included in any of this. None of it. But you can see on here, all that charade that they had to go through just to get the bishop's name. Okay, so obviously you're going to assume that they don't know who the bishop is yet, right? My question is, what we never heard, we heard a whole lot of nonsense here, but what we never heard was the moment that they gave you the bishop's name and your best friend, John Mast, your best friend, tell us about the part where he found out the name and said, wow, I knew him from 35 years ago. We never, ever heard that. We never heard the guy's name, and we never heard the story about The moment where you realize that this was an old friend from 35 years ago, we never heard that. If Douche wouldn't have slipped up, we still wouldn't know that there is a connection between Robert Mast and the bishop. But I'm going to show you who did slip up and say the name, Douche. Now, I used to know somebody just like this guy. In fact, I knew two people like this. And one person was a renter of mine, and I used to bring him along jobs to make a little extra cash for him. And I used to tell him, now, don't open your mouth about this, this, and that. And say, for example, I'd say, we're pulling up to somebody's house, a client's house, and I'd say, okay, now, whatever you do, don't mention her divorce, because we're not supposed to know about it. I get out of the truck. By the time I go around the other side, he's telling the lady, it's okay if you're divorced. This is that guy here. And then later I yell at him, would you forget what I told you? He said, yeah, I just forgot for a second. Anyway, that's this guy. So he is always saying things, but here he is. He's the only one that mentioned the bishop's name, and he mentioned his first name. Like I said, he's saying things. Now, again, think about this. Not once has Eric ever told us who that bishop is or where he's from. Never. We heard about the guy's house and the faucets in his house and the refrigerator and the table and all this other stuff. But they never told us who this bishop was, did they? Very sus. And you know what else I find suspect? That Robert Mast is never on camera. Now he's right off camera to Eric's right here. Okay, just John Mast. Now he's the hero, right? He's the one that. So why don't we ever see John Mast? The only time I've ever seen him involved in anything, Whitaker, was that photo op where he's hugging Timmy, and I didn't get that off of this YouTube thing here. That's a picture from Facebook. That is their picture. So not once is he. Now, if I'm wrong, let me know. Let me know in the comment section. Say, hey, no, they showed us the bishop. Show me where they showed the bishop. Show me the bishop. Because where's it? But here, Douche accidentally slips up, and he says he's bragging about the guy's home. Okay. Now, if you Google the bishop's name, yeah, this is his house. They're describing it to a T. That's why I'm pretty sure this is who it is. That's who the bishop is, because I Googled his first name is Sam. I'm not going to tell you his last name, but it'd be very easy for you or the police to find out who his last name is. But he slips up and it says his name is Sam. Now nobody else knows who.
The solar panels. So and then push button for hot water. So now you don't have a hot water heater. I mean, we're talking modern technology, going from trailer to modern technology. But that was all because of Mr. Mast. But more importantly, it was because of, Sam and his kids.
Sam and his kids. Yeah, that's the bishop's name, Sam. That's the one and only time I'll ever hear. And he didn't, he's not telling you, introducing you or anything like that, but I find it very suspect that they've never mentioned who the bishop was. This is the closest thing you're going to get. And this right here confirmed. Whoever put that in my comment told me what his name was. Yes, that bishop's first name was Sam. So I'm pretty sure this is who they're talking about. So again, if it's Robert Mast's not best friend, but if it's his friend from 35 years ago, okay, which also makes it hard for me to believe, and I'm going to go over that in a second. But if it was from his friend from 35, like I said, why didn't right here when they're telling you about how, or when they told you about how they met the bishop? Remember, they bought the cheese, they spoke German, and then they got the bishop's name. Well, where's the part where he says, "Wow, you got to be kidding me! I know this guy, I know this bishop." And what are the odds that the place that they picked to go try to find a bishop, remember, They didn't know the bishop's name. They're going to, what are the odds, you guys? What are the odds? Now, they could have went to a Amish builder in West Virginia, but they drove into another state, into Virginia, down to this town over here, Parisburg, and they happened to, like, wow, what are the odds of that? That the bishop that you asked for happened to be somebody you knew either for 35 years or 35 years ago. Still, what are the odds? That's like lottery odds, you know what I mean? That the person that you look for happened. So how come we never heard that story? How come we never heard when, okay, so when he said, yeah, after we bought the cheese and spoke German, they gave us the bishop's name. Okay, that's where we should have heard, and you won't believe it, you guys. It was Robert knew this guy 35 years ago. No, because now there's a connection and now there's a conflict of interest. How come they never told you that? Well, how come you never heard from Eric that this guy knew Robert 35 years ago or fourth? How come only Douche is spilling the beans? We didn't get no information on anybody but him. Now, here's something else that really bothers me. So they go to, meet with the bishop. They finally get the bishop in a random place. Happens to be the guy you knew from 35 years ago. Or for 35 years, whatever. That part, so I'm just showing you, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you knew him for 35 years or 35 years ago. Why weren't we ever told that, wow, this is somebody Robert knows and is connected to? The guy who's going to take all the money. Now, I thought this was interesting. Now, he kept saying that he's going to be transparent. Oh, transparency. They keep saying that. But we've never seen a single spreadsheet of any of the money that has come in. It's been 3 months, and nobody has seen nothing. He hasn't been transparent about the money, about how much this house. He never mentioned what this house would cost. You just got an okay from the bishop, and okay, how much? What's it going to cost? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, now, and another thing before I forget. After they got the Amish deal sealed by somebody they already knew, they went back to the Whitakers. They walked the property, remember, scoping out the property. Everything was good. They went and got the permits. There's something funny. They didn't make it to the courthouse on the restraining order, but the very next day they were down at the courthouse getting the records, which they should have done at the beginning before they even did anything. They would have known right from the beginning that, oh, we can't do it. We can't build a new house. And for people telling me they can't build a house because it's not their property, yeah, I get it. I already know that. When I said they could have put on addition, yeah, I believe they can. And for people saying the house is condemned, I'm going to tell you what, you're going off of rumors. Because if that house was condemned, there would be a piece of paper on the front door saying it's condemned. I used to work with realtors. I worked in real estate. I know all about it. Okay, when they condemn a home, nobody can go in it. It's condemned. And there's a sign on the front door. They would not have people coming in and out, crews of people. They wouldn't let them stay there. If it was condemned, they would not let them stay there. And the funny thing is, Patrick is putting up clips of Eric's old videos off of Dad Talk. And it's funny because the first time Eric came home from the Whitaker trip, he said the house is dirty, but it's not that bad. He also said everybody's loving and well cared for and all this other stuff. And that Patrick's doing good. Now it's all flipped upside down, but that's what they said. But the funny thing is when they came back from the Amish and scoped out the property, as soon as they found out that property finally, which like I said, they should have done at the beginning, but nonetheless, that Friday, when they found out that it's not their property, like I said, I don't believe they can't do improvements. They were able to put a roof and siding on when Mark helped them. Why can't they put on addition? Or if not an addition, why can't they just got the inside and redo it? I worked for people who I worked for realtors who used to flip homes, and we used to get the nastiest homes, empty them out, and flip them. And when they were done, and it would only take like 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. From the beginning, it's a hoarder house. Looks like it should be bulldozed. And when they got done, it looked like a brand new home. Everything top to bottom, brand new. So I know that could have been redone. And that wouldn't disturb anything. But nonetheless. So I already know if you can stop writing comments that they can't build on it. Yeah, I know. I'm saying that Eric went with the most expensive option first because that's going to take in the most donations. And that really was the point of it all. But once the courthouse told him that, nope, you cannot build on there, A, B, and C, all these reasons why not. That Friday, they should have went back to the Whitakers and said, I guess we can't do this. Maybe we can remodel or put a trailer across the street or something, which they should have done to begin with. But once they found out at the courthouse that they can't do this, they would obviously have to tell the Amish builders that the deal's off, if they even made the deal. And I got a lot of doubts about that. So really, like I said, $1 million question is, did Sam the Bishop really make that deal with these guys? Because either he didn't make it and they had to call this thing off by the BJ blow up thing, what happened, or they found out the property was in someone else's name and the deal's off that way. Either way, I think the deal went through. Either the bishop said no, or because of the property's not in their name. But once they found out that property's not in their name, they should have went back and said, no, we can't build the house. But instead he went back and said, oh, we can build the house, but oh wait, BJ's in the camper. That's it. We can't build the house. And like I said at the beginning, where's that contract? You haven't even signed a contract yet for the house, did you? I know one for the YouTube, but I don't remember them signing anything for the house, so she can't break a contract that hasn't even been written yet or signed. So, now the only thing that they have, do they have paperwork? Let's see the paperwork. Let's see the big contract that you got. Let's see the plans for the house. Let's see something. You won't show us his name. You won't show anything. The friend slipped up and said, Sam, that's the closest we got. And I don't think anybody probably caught it. I didn't catch it at the time. I didn't. Until somebody told me that's the bishop's name. Oh. But anyway, there, listen.
Them up there, and it would be easier to make sure nobody bothers them in the middle of the night anymore. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to flash people's numbers. But not me.
Okay.
People think
they have no business cards, no nothing. Look at what he's going to show you as proof of the house that was ready to get built. Look at, I'm not going to flash people's numbers. Why? You're not going to show anybody that you spoke to. Look at the card that they come up with. You don't have the builder's card. We should know who these builders are. Show us the builder card company. Show us the bishop's card. Show us anybody's card. Oh, they do. They're going to show us the card. Oh, hey, wait, guys. They got a card.
people think that you're the reincarnated.
Do you see how he showed them cards? Did you catch them? Did you catch them? Wow, they're really legit, you guys. Look at.
People think that you're the
reincarnated
version of Wolfman Jack.
Got a handful of cards.
I saw that. I heard that.
Wow. Handful of business cards.
We do want to flash,
Oh, here's one that they do want to flash. Oh, we get to see one.
Here's the number we do want to flash.
Oh, we get to see one, you guys. Who is it? Builder?
Yeah.
There you go. That right there.
That right there.
The tables.
Yeah.
That's the one who builds the tables. The only thing that he showed, we don't know the bishop's name, we don't know the community, we don't know nothing, but we did get to see the business card of the man who builds the tables. Now, after the Amish thing, they went to the records thing. Now get this, so they went from the Amish to the courthouse. At the courthouse, they found out they can't build. Then he said, we came back to see Betty with the good news. What good news? Just found out the courthouse, you can't build on it. Came back with the good news, the Amish, and that was the Huggin' Timmy photo op. Hey, good news, Amish agreed. Did they? I would love to know if they really agreed to this. But yeah, so we got the card for the guy who builds tables. Yeah, so we got the card of the guy who builds the tables. So if the bishop is, in on it, then he's in on it. But if he's not in on it, I don't know. That's up to the detectives, I guess.